A few weeks ago, as Lent began, we shared stories of God's covenant with all of creation and God's covenant with our ancestors in faith. As we continue into this season, our focus shifts from stories of how God's covenants came to be to texts that describe what it's like to live with God in these covenants. What does it mean to be held in the care of God's holy promises? How does it change us? What does it mean that the God of our ancestors is our God here and now? Our texts this morning are two very different passages from different parts of the Bible. One is a portion of a psalm, one is a portion of a letter written to the early church. Both of them try to describe what it's like to live in this relationship with God. The details of the two texts are different, but you may recognize the same underlying story. It's a story that is told over and over again in our scriptures in different ways. Here's the story. Something is wrong. As we move through life, we find ourselves at times scattered, sick, bewildered, ashamed, enduring affliction, living amidst great destruction. Maybe in some moments we even feel dead inside, as Ephesians describes, separated from everything that is good, overset by evil forces, betrayed by the powers in which we have put our trust. Something is wrong. Something is wrong inside of us. Something is wrong around us. Within this experience of devastation, whatever it is, the scriptures describe how the power of God emerges. The power of love arises and heals, delivers, redeems, saves, liberates, resurrects. This power does not do away with pain. This power does not erase tragedy. But it transforms these experiences so that our relationship to them is profoundly different. Peace and joy and justice become possible for us amidst everything else. We have two primary names in our tradition for this power of God that emerges in the midst of our lives. The first word is the Hebrew word chesed, translated as steadfast love, or loving kindness, or faithfulness to covenant. The second is the Greek word charis, translated as grace or unmerited mercy. These two words, chesed and charis, steadfast love and grace, come from different source languages and from different cultures, and they have different nuances. This is not the same word, but both try to convey our human experience of God's incredible, faithful, transformative love, which is with us through the challenges of life. It's hard to fathom. God invites us to live our complicated and often difficult lives alongside their transforming power of love. And especially in Christian tradition, there is an emphasis on the idea that this love is, as the writer of Ephesians tells us, the gift of God, not the result of works, so that no one may boast. In other words, the divine power is not bought or sold or earned. It is not doled out in small measures or limited by time or space. This power is ongoing. It is infinite. It is utterly undeserved. It is something we cannot achieve, but must instead receive, accept, surrender to. So let's practice. Just for a minute, let's practice, because receiving and accepting and surrendering is something that many of us have difficulty with. And God's transformative love is something we desperately need. So I invite you to try practicing with me, accepting that love for just a minute. I invite you to imagine that God is rock. Not just any rock, but bedrock, solid rock, foundational rock. A rock that may at times be far below us under other layers of earth. At other times, it might be right underneath our feet, exposed. Regardless, it is always there, supporting us, upholding us. Imagine that you are laying back on a smooth expanse of that steady rock, somewhere warm in the sun. You could turn off your video if you wanted to. You could close your eyes. You could even lay down on the floor where you are or on another surface on the ground. Find what might feel right for you, just for a minute. And when you've chosen a posture that feels right to you, just breathe and sense or imagine your back being supported by the rock that is God. Take some slow, deep breaths. As you settle in, open your heart to these questions. In the past days or weeks or months, or in this past year of pandemic, have you felt scattered, separated, isolated from those you care for? Have you been separated from God, perhaps by anger, regret, grief, or fear? Have you put your trust in powers or practices that failed you? Have you been harmed by evil? Have you endured affliction, pain, distress, chaos, exhaustion? Have you suffered until at times you feel that all good things are gone from your life? All hope departed from your spirit. All joy departed from your body. Whatever your experience has been, child of God, there is yet new life for you. Whatever you have done, whatever has happened to you, whatever has happened in you, whatever has happened around you, there is yet new life for you. For at all times, and here and now, God's steadfast love abides. For at all times, and here and now, God's grace pours forth for us all. It is here to return to. It is here to hold you. It is here to gently fill your heart, tend to your wounds, renew your spirit. The unmerited and eternal love of God is your home, the quarry from which you were hewn, the bedrock on which you are always welcome to rest. Take your rest, beloved, if you are weary. Take your rest and return here for rest whenever you need it. God's chesed, God's charis, God's steadfast love and grace abide. Thanks be to God.